Talent Talk Radio Show, brought to you by People G2, a nationwide leader in background checks and employment screening solutions. People G2 gives their clients access to the best human capital management and due diligence tools available. They are dedicated to helping their clients with all of their people-related decisions. To learn more, go to www.peopleg2.com. Talent Talk centers on the topics of talent recruitment and management, leadership development, company culture, and employee engagement. These are all timely topics for CEOs, entrepreneurs, HR professionals, and business leaders. We hope that as you tune in to listen each week, whether to the live broadcast or to the podcast on iTunes or iHeartRadio, that you hear something you can take away that will help you grow and impact your career in a positive way. And now, here's the host of the Talent Talk Radio Show, the founder and CEO of People G2, Chris Dyer.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Talent Talk Radio Show. We are excited to be back into the swing of it after kind of being gone for a few weeks. I know we're sort of running some best of shows. It's really fun to be back in the mix and back live on the show. And speaking of being back on the show, our guest today is a returning veteran to the Talent Talk Radio Show. And we'll get to him in a minute and kind of dive into what he's been doing lately. But, you know, the show really is built around this concept of I love to talk to smart people who inspire me, who are doing awesome things. And what can I learn from them? What can we all learn from them? What are they seeing? What are they doing? Maybe what are they worried about? What are they reading? These are all the kinds of things that I love to know and to kind of get a baseline for where I might want to think about, you know, my next steps, my next books, my next thoughts, what my people might be thinking about. So for all you leaders out there, this is a perfect opportunity to learn something and to engage. Speaking of engagement, we do live tweet this. So if you are listening live, or maybe you pick up the podcast pretty close to when we ran it, you can go on Twitter at PeopleG2 or that hashtag Talent Talk, and you can interact, comment, ask questions. If you're listening live, you can ask a question right now for DJ, and we will get it onto the show. My social media manager and coordinator, Angela, is really good at doing that. And she also live tweets all the smart things we say, and any links or profile links or anything that you might want to write down, she's plopping it in there. And we've had so many great stories that have come through the show throughout the years. A lot of them in the first part of the years that went into my first book, The Power of Company Culture. And now, of course, with COVID, we had so many amazing stories that I wrote another book called Remote Work. So if you're interested in either culture or how to have a better remote company, you know where to find, where to buy your books, Amazon or wherever you buy them, look me up. And happy to hear how you think that maybe they might be able to help your company. All right, Talent Talk is live every Tuesday, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you're listening on podcast or you want to listen to the podcast later on, please make sure you subscribe wherever you're finding us, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify. Doesn't matter to us. Just subscribe so you never miss a show. All right, let's go ahead and get to my guest. Unfortunately, our second scheduled guest had a medical emergency. Hopefully everything is okay with her. And so we're just going to spend our time today with DJ Eidson. Like I said, he is a returning veteran to the show. He's co-founder and COO of Limitless Minds. And Limitless Minds teaches organizations like Microsoft and Johnson & Johnson, Chick-fil-A, these small little companies you might have heard of before, and many more, the same mindset concepts and training that Super Bowl winning quarterbacks like Russell Wilson use so they can have a competitive advantage. I know we went down that rabbit hole quite a bit around Russell Wilson. But before we kind of return to some of that, DJ, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being here, buddy.
What's up? Thanks for the intro. I love the part about we interview smart people. I hope Harry Wilson's listening. He always gives me a hard time, my other co-founder, Russell's older brother. But I appreciate the introduction, man. Thank you.
Yeah, like I said, I've seen you all over social media recently. I know you've been doing a lot, and you guys are quite active, as you like to say,
yes,
with everything going on. So, maybe like since the last time you were on the show, what have you guys been up to? What are you focusing on? What's sort of, really present for you and your organization?
Yeah, so I was looking back. It's been almost a year. And, last time we spoke, I was in my basement, still dealing with the quarantine. And so we're out. What's new? I'll first tell you one thing that's new on the personal front. I have a teenager now, so that's really new.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Yes.
Say a prayer for your boy. So my kids, we have 5 ages 3 to 13. And so that 12, and then she turned 13 it's an interesting. I had to actually get my own mental conditioning coach since since the last time we talked. So no, it's but yeah, so that's been going well. Family's good. Business has been going great. Like you said, we like to say active. We don't say the B word at our company. BUSY. We do say the other B word. I was telling you, Chris, we say blessed, right? We've been really blessed and fortunate what we've been going through here recently. We've been able to work with, we added some logos. We started working with Workday and Salesforce, and there's plenty of other logos that we've had the opportunity and been fortunate enough to work with. But it's been, we actually opened up, and you're going to see some announcements coming out of a physical facility for our mental conditioning training down in Lake Nona, Florida. That's right outside of Orlando. It's about a 7 or 8 minute Uber drive from the airport. And it's a health and wellness community. And we are now bringing teams and executives starting this fall down there to train live. And then also they'll be leaving with some tech support and some other things to go along their journey of life. We want to really just ride right beside them and partner with people. And so have a physical location, have the technology to see them where they are and meet them where they are. So a lot of exciting things there. We've expanded our team now, and we just continue to grow. So we've been really, really fortunate here recently.
Well, with I guess everything going on, and so I can say this as someone who's already lived through having 3 teenagers. I will say that my management style changed after having 3 teenagers. Okay. That my ability to deal with difficult people or high achievers or people that might put a strain on you as a leader, right? Yeah. Got better. Because teenagers sort of put you through your paces, right? Every possible scenario you have to deal with. And I think, that's right. And they don't have that contract that you have with the employee. They're like, well, I'm not going to be my absolute worst at work because you are signing my paycheck at the end. And where teenagers they'll just light a nuclear bomb off and just let it go.
Right.
So since you're on your first one and you have a few more to come, this might be an interesting place to kind of talk about, because I will tell you the 2 things I learned that took me a little bit of time that I have translated into the business world. And the first one is not to take any of their behaviors personally. Not to personalize. They're teenagers, they're going through stuff, just like employees are going through stuff that you may not know about, right? And it's easy to be like, well, they won't meet with me, or they're short on calls, and like not to personalize it. I start doing that, and it was like, wow, I'm so much better in the conversation now. But I will say my favorite piece of advice for parents or people having difficult employees with teenagers is to just start saying yes to everything. And I know that sounds crazy, but yes and yes but, because I feel like teenagers and difficult employees, the moment you say no, go into like DEFCON 5, or is it 1? I forget which way it goes. But like they go into like the worst case scenario that you're the worst person ever and they hate your guts because you said no. But it's like, can I go to that party? Yes, but there has to be adults there.
Got you.
Can I go out with my friends? Yes. And you have to make sure you've done these chores, right?
Right.
And so it's like this little mini negotiation.
Yes, I love that. We actually work with a gentleman named Travis Thomas, one of my favorite people. He worked with Second City for a while. He does improv, and he also is a mental conditioning coach. Yeah. He actually is with the U.S. men's soccer team right now. And he teaches that yes and philosophy. I have never applied it to teenagers, which I really appreciate you giving that advice. I think both your pieces of advice are very well stated, and I will put those into action today. I think that's awesome, man.
Well, you bring up improv, which is where it was born, and it's that idea in an improv situation, you have to keep the scene going. If you say no in the scene, the scene ends.
Yeah.
Right. And so you want to keep the conversation going. And anyone who's ever had a teenager knows when you get that small glimpse, a small moment where they'll actually talk to you and actually tell you what's going on, because they suddenly become so kind of internal, right, for a few years, that you don't want to stop that conversation,
right,
by saying no. You want them to keep talking, because like you'll find out what I'm talking about when their eyes stop rolling every 10 minutes, and all of a sudden they're like, okay, well, this is what's going on with me and my friends, and this is the problem I'm having. And you're like, oh my gosh, okay, what do I do? I got to keep
Yeah,
it going because they're finally sharing, and
that's right.
it's that yes and the yes but to keep them going. Because
Yeah,
I will say, like, well, I would say no, you can't do that, and it was like, nope, shut
they
down,
shut you right down. How
conversation
old now?
over.
How old are your kids now?
Now my kids are 23, 23, and 19.
Got you. Very
Yeah.
good. No, that's
So
great. That's a great piece of advice. I mean, it's interesting because I've led, you know, hundreds of people throughout my career, and leading a household with teenagers, or at least a teenager, has probably been one of my most difficult challenges.
yep,
And I do find myself, you know,
yep,
going to some of the leadership, tools and tactics and techniques that I've used in business. I find, myself trying to utilize some of those things, and not all of them work. Some of them do.
yeah,
Not all of them work, but it's a unique, very unique time right now. So yeah, we'll figure it
yeah.
out.
Yeah, I mean, you're in this exciting time because, like, the good news is with the other four, that's like the best time ever. That's like my favorite part of like having
Right.
kids was that when they were little and they're old enough to tell you what they like and everything's
That's
fun, and
right.
you know.
That's right. That's right. But as soon as what I've realized too, as soon as you like figure out whatever stage it is, it's like they're on to the next one. You're like,
Oh,
dang.
yeah,
So,
yeah. It's like the shoes. You finally find shoes they like, and then they grow out of them.
yeah,
in
they
like,
grow out
you
of
know,
them.
about
Exactly.
2 minutes.
Exactly. Good thing. Well, with five of them though, they can pass them down, right? And
Right.
so we do get
I
the
hope.
luxury of that.
Yeah, and my brothers and I never were good enough to shoes. We were so hard on shoes that they never got passed down, and my parents were so upset about it. We would ruin them, destroy them. We used to have the dog pull us on a skateboard, and we'd use them as brakes until the soles wore down to nothing. You
Nice.
know, yeah.
That's great. That's great.
So, with all the work that you're focusing on, as we're sort of
Yeah.
coming out of this pandemic, we hope the Delta variant may have something to say about that. But as we kind of come back and we're leadership has maybe changed a little bit. Work has
Yeah.
changed a little bit. Maybe not for the athletes so much that you're working with, but with those people that are choosing hybrid work, remote work, all of that. Is there sort of a new theme? Is there something that you're sort of seeing that we need to be paying attention to right now?
Yeah, I do. And actually this came from an executive at Johnson and Johnson. I think it was January. We were meeting and they said, DJ, the biggest challenge for me right now is how I show empathy, but still drive results. And that has really resonated. The minute he said it to me, I realized a lot of other executives and leaders were trying to articulate that message, but the way he did it, it was so simple. It was like empathy, and I'm seeing results on this end, and how do you do both of those things and do them well in this environment, and so that's what I see a lot of leaders grappling with, and the thing is, it really does come down to a mindset. You can't have a fixed mindset in this environment. Things have changed. We talked about last time how you have to accept. We talk about neutral thinking with our company. That's one of the things that we teach. And you really, in neutral thinking, it's rooted in truth and facts. You have to accept the environment for what it is. And as leaders, that's what we have to do. Things have changed, and so how do we grapple with the new work environment? What does new work week look like? How often do we go into the office? How often do we stay at home? Kids learning from home still potentially, some kids going back to school. What does that all look like? Vaccinated versus not vaccinated, all these different things that we have as leaders, we have to take and really empathize with the people that we're leading. Now, in order to do that, it's one thing to say have empathy, but I think if you take even one step back, you have to actually listen as a leader. And you mentioned that, Chris, and that's where I think the skills that we have as leaders of men and women transfer over to the leadership skills we have in our family with our kids, is that when you take time to listen and actually acknowledge the issues and that people are dealing with, doesn't mean you have to agree with them, right? But you have to at least listen and acknowledge that their issue is real for them. And then you go into the behavior aspect and what things you want to see. And then ultimately you'll get to the result that you want to get to. But I think a lot of times we either skip straight to the result or straight to the behavior aspect of it. And we never slow down to really acknowledge and empathize with the people that we're leading. And that to me has been, kind of the biggest aha moment in terms of, if I want to be a great leader, I really have to slow down to speed up.
Yeah, and a lot of what I was seeing was that in order to really be empathetic and to do that, you have to kind of maybe readjust your perceptions, readjust your outcomes, readjust what you think is going to happen. Because there's a lot of managers right now that are trying to put a square peg into a round hole, right? They're saying, well, this is how we used to do it. And this is what you used to be able to perform at. And I need that same thing. I feel really bad that you had this situation going on, but you still need to meet these.
Right.
And that's not really being empathetic, right? It's
Right.
how do we retool, redesign? And for me, this is always why remote work and flexible work has been an advantage, because we can say, geez, I get it. You have a sick spouse. I'm so glad that you're able to work from home. Figure out your schedule, how you need to do it. Yes. Right? You're telling me you don't need to take time off, but you just need you need a little bit of flexibility from me on when you get your deadlines done. I think, great, no problem, right? I understand what's happening and they can do that. Well, that's pretty hard to do if someone's coming into an office and has a 2-hour commute each way.
Right.
Right. How do you can empathize and say, geez, I feel really bad for you. But for me, the lack of actually doing something or helping them, it just feels like you're sympathizing with them. I know that's not the really correct definition, but it feels a slim version of empathy, right? We're just like, oh, well, I feel bad for you, but get back to your quota,
right? Yeah, and that's why I think that, again, a lot of times, if we're being honest with ourselves as leaders, we're kind of half listening, and we already have the behaviors or the things that we want them to work on, and because we know that those behaviors, in the past have showed us that we're going to get a certain result, so we're just skipping right there. So you have to be very intentional and purposeful about that listening aspect, and really intently listening. And because what's going to happen is, when you're intentional like that, it's going to build up a certain amount of trust, so that when you do go to the behavior aspect and you tell them what you need them to do, there's going to be some buy-in there, because it's going to be like, hey, Chris cares about me. DJ cares about me. He's really interested in what is on my mind and on my heart. Now, I'll tell you some real actionable ways that we've done that as an organization. We've had to build that into our day. So the first thing that we do on Slack is everybody says what they're grateful for, and we do that. So that's the first thing you see when you go into work, what people are grateful for, and what that tells you about really is what they care about, what's important to them. So as a leader, I'm really paying close attention to that. The other thing is we built in during the week a time where it's just a Zoom call. Everybody goes on the Zoom call. You're not allowed to talk about work. It's just like being at the water cooler. And what you find out is what is important to people, the issues that are going on, what people are celebrating. So those things build trust as a team. And you start, if you really listen as a leader, you'll see what's important to your people. So then when you go to influence them, it's much easier, right? You're aligned in terms of, now, again, we may not agree with the direction that we go every single time and every single step, but you're going to have a lot more buy-in if you're listening and acknowledging what's going on, as opposed to just moving straight to results and behaviors.
And I want to make sure people really understood, I think, what you were saying, which was you've designed something that very intentional, that works for your organization, that has a very specific action and a very specific outcome. Yeah. So you, as a listener, may say, well, geez, us saying what we're thankful for every day is not doable for us, or we have 1,000 people at our company and we couldn't have 1,000 Slack messages. Fine. Right. But the point is, you need to design some way in which maybe your teams can interact in some special way, so they can understand what's going on. It doesn't have to be, if you have 1,000-person company, it doesn't have to be across all 1,000. It could be inside a smaller group, a smaller team. And how do we connect with those people we're closest with and we work the most with, to make sure we understand like you said, what's important to them.
I'm so glad you said that. Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, Chris, because you know what? When I've told some other people that, they go straight to where you just went to. They say, well, the way our company's structured, that's a great idea, and I'm so glad you guys do it, but we can't. And what's interesting is, this wasn't the first iteration of this gratitude piece for our company. We used to do it on every call, because we had a daily call as a team when we were really small, and we would start everybody would go around the horn what they're grateful for. So
Right.
this is so we had to adapt and evolve as we grew, and it'll look different when we during the next expansion. And
Right.
so but there's something, as long as like, and I look at my values every day. Like our core values, we have 6 of them: think big, impact, people focus, courage, gratitude, and trust. Right. So every day I'm saying, how am I doing those things? Gratitude is one of them. And so as a leader, you need to build that into your team, as if if you're leading a district or a team of 10, whatever it is. As a leader of your family, as a CEO, if you're leading hundreds of people or thousands of people, you have to be really aligned with your values. And for us, gratitude is one of them. And we won't make an excuse on why we can't uphold that value.
And really curating an experience and a system that reinforces what you care about as an organization that's often what I spend a lot of my time consulting about and helping organizations or senior leaders to do, because they'll say, we really care about gratitude. And I go, great. Now what's the thing that drives that? Well, we tell all of our leaders they should, tell everyone good job. Well, I mean, that's stupid. I mean, that's just not going to work, right? You need to have a specific meeting, a specific time, a specific way in Slack, something that is reinforced and talked about that is repeatable and doable by everyone in the organization.
Yeah.
And again, make up your own thing, iterate your own thing. Doesn't have to be what I say, doesn't have to be what DJ says, but you got to find something that's not just leaving it up to people to do it on their own.
Yep.
There has to be a process. Just like, we're on a sports team. We know in football on offense, they always get together with a quarterback and they talk about the plan and they say break, and then they go like it's over and over and over. There is a process for communication on how we're going to do something, right? In basketball, every time there's a free throw, they kind of chit chat. There's a little bit of that high five.
Yeah.
You can see in sports these different little moments where there's repeatable things that they do.
That's right. Yeah.
And we have to put those in our organizations, or at least if you can't control your organization, at least put it into your team, right? Where you can control it.
Lead up. We call that leading up. When I was at my last company and 1,000 people, I knew I had a certain team that I was leading, but by my example, like I knew I was going to impact other people. I could impact the CEO by my example in certain, in certain aspects. So, so I think you have to believe that, that because people are watching. They're watching the way you're treating people. They're watching the way you interact. They're watching how you act when you're up, when you're down. And so as a leader, or even as an employee, there's always a microscope on you, because you never know when you're going to get tapped. Even if you're just an employee and you're not leading people, you're doing a great job. Chances are you're going to get tapped to move up. And then everybody's going to say, oh, remember when DJ was just a sales rep? Remember how he treated us? And you're leading those same people. So, so leading up and leading by example is really important. It's something, to your point, Chris, we can all do.
And again, I want to kind of remind everybody, leading up or leading by example does not mean being perfect.
No.
It doesn't necessarily even mean that you have to be the one working the most amount of hours, that you have to be the first one there and the last one to leave. I don't think those are necessarily scalable or things to do. So if you want an example, and I've been telling people about this for a few weeks now, since I got back from vacation, it has always been a thing for me. And I tell my people I want them to do this, but when I do it and I show them I'm doing this, I recorded myself and sent it to the whole company. I feel like this was a good example of leading this way. I tell everyone, I don't want you to read your emails when you come back from vacation. I want you to put an out of office that says, I'm going to delete your email, resend it after this date. Here's some people who can help you, because I don't want people to read emails on their vacation. I want them to be totally, free and relaxing. That's awesome. I don't want them to come back to, for me, I had 9,000 emails when I came back sitting there. Wow. Right. And I went, could I have gone through all those nine? I mean, sort of a lot of it was junk. I'm sure there was more than a few Nordstrom sales and, stuff like that, like stuff I wouldn't need to read.
That's why you look so fly, man. I love that shirt. Go. That looks good, man.
There we go. But I videotaped myself going in, copying them all, deleting them all, going to inbox 0 and reminding everyone, it's important to me when you go on vacation, I want you at inbox 0 when you start, so that you don't have all this anxiety and being upset. And that's a way I think a leader, people can find ways to show everyone, I care about this thing, and look, I did it too. I'm not paying lip service to what I'm telling you should do. Right.
Right. I mean, how you know, there was once and I thought it was so crazy at the time. I was probably late 20s, early 30s. I just started leading people, and the vice president, I was talking to the vice president of training, and this guy had been at several pharmaceutical companies, great guy, super successful. And I was telling him, I'm like, man, you know, because we were at a training session, and you know, when you're at a training session, the emails start, you know, piling up, and I was like, man, I'm really getting stressed about these emails. There's all these emails I got to, you know, when I got to get back and all this stuff. He goes, you know what I do? And I said, he goes, well, you know, he goes, about once every 3 months, he's like, all those emails that are in my inbox, I just press delete all. And he goes, you know what happens? He goes, things get done. And I'm like, dang, you know what I mean? Like, that's, you know, he said exactly what you just said. I mean, you know, it's really not, at the end of the day, it's not that serious. Most of the time, if people don't have if they don't have implemented a process like you did, Chris, you know, I a lot of times, my last day or two, spend time thinking about, I'm gonna have to get all these emails, all this work that's piling up. And so you would have just gave me an extra day or two onto my vacation, right? And so it's that, I love that. That's really actionable and something that, you know, anybody can apply. So as a leader, that's good stuff.
Yeah, and it's easy because if you're telling the people emailing you, I'm not going to read it, you're setting good expectations, right? And you're telling them when they can resend, because there were some important emails, there were some things I needed to talk to people about. They resent it on the date I told them I'd be back in the office.
It's really cool.
You know, because it was important. Great. The rest of it was all junk and it wasn't important. Or, you know, we do this other thing called an ostrich meeting. With your team, you get together and you have them, you know, tell you everything you missed. Like, what did I miss? What do I need to know? What's the big stuff going on? Help me get my head out of the sand. Mm-hmm. And if they go, oh, well, there was this one client had this one problem, we really need to look at it. Okay, I can go back into my deleted emails and I can read that thread. I can easily get caught up if I have to get to an email, right? But out of those 9,000 emails, about 20 came back to me and said, hey, I saw your note. That was cool. Here, I'm resending this email. We need to talk.
Yeah, that's right.
20.
That's crazy. 9,000, right? So you know, the other thing, when you asked about kind of what's on, you know, the mind of leaders, and this kind of parlays into what you're talking about here too. One of my mentors, who actually is my pastor as well, he said to me, he goes, people are looking for leadership that isn't anxious, you know, that's calm. And so, you know, that's an example. The example you gave was an example of, you know, just being, you know, calm in that situation. You know, it's really, at the end of the day, not serious that all 9,000 emails aren't. But the same thing, whether it's, you know, social injustice, vaccines versus not vaccines, political stuff, work at home, people are being bombarded with negativity. They're being bombarded with information. And so to be calm under pressure as a leader really stands out, and I think is something that I'm really trying to, as I lead people, and the people that I lead who lead other folks, to say be calm under pressure.
Yeah, and the only thing I will maybe add to that is I did learn during the financial crisis 2009. I have a pretty even personality, and I really was keeping it tight, really trying to be calm. This is a big deal. Our first really big test, you know, and I realized that my people kind of wanted me to put on my superhero cape. They were kind of freaked out a little bit that I wasn't more, you know, excitable. I wasn't, I wasn't like, right. Cause they wanted, it was good that I wasn't freaked out. They didn't want me to like run around with my hair, you know, on fire or say the sky is falling, but they did want me to stand up and like, kind of put my, you know, superhero cape on and say, we're going to make this, we're going to do it. Think everything's going to be okay. And you can do that in a very calm manner, like you said. But they wanted those words they wanted me to be the leader. Right?
They want direct. I'm guessing they probably wanted, you know, direction from you because they trust you. Right. And so I do think that. I think people do want direction. You know, they also, freaking out, you know, is gonna, in this environment, is and you know this, is obviously gonna have a really negative impact on your team, and you see that, unfortunately. I mean, they act out, people and leaders act out in different ways, and
Yeah.
but you're right, direction is so important, and being clear with your direction, and confident, because the same example I gave you with my pastor is funny, because no matter what decision he makes, somebody's ticked off, right? It's like, have a mask when you come in over in this section, when we were in the middle of the coronavirus. Well, why does it have to be that section? Why do you have to have a mask? What, everybody should have a mask. It was just he could never make the right decision, but he was so calm and decisive in whatever he did that people followed him, and there's always going to be outliers, right? But I learned a lot by watching leaders like him. Shout out to Pastor Jonathan Schaefer in Grace Church, Middleburg Heights, Ohio. He's a guy that not only he talks the talk, he walks the walk. He does lead by example, and he's done a really fine job of leading our church. It's a church of over 4,000 people, members. So.
Well, if he doesn't get ruffled under pressure, I'm feeling he may have had teenagers at one point, it sounds like. So
yeah, he's got a big family. He comes from a huge family. So yeah, that's right.
He's already been through the biggest war he's going to go through. So
that's right. Exactly.
That's awesome. Well, one of our favorite questions to ask our guests, is there any books that you're reading these days that you might suggest that we check out?
Well, it's interesting. So I'll take a little different spin. So about 5 years ago, I started buying commercial real estate, and that's been something that is a business. I have a business partner that runs in the background. I really don't do a ton with it. We have somebody that manages the properties, but I often find myself listening to podcasts that about real estate, or reading books. I read one on vacation, The Loopholes of Real Estate, which sounds really kind of, oh, what the heck is this? But basically what it is it tells you, it teaches you how to, the tax advantages of real estate. So that's one that I really liked. I think its last name is Sutton. I'm sure many of your listeners have read the Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. He is part of that Rich Dad, Poor Dad family. And so that's my most recent book. I still read the Bible every day, so I go to that often. So those would be my two books here recently reading.
Well, fantastic. And I know you're a super busy guy, and
active.
That's right. Excuse me. Busy to me, active to you.
I'm teasing, man.
No. That's all good. That's all good. But I really appreciate you being on the show today and continuing to share with my audience your knowledge, and of course out there in the public world that you've been doing quite a bit to continue to share the message. And so if there's anything we can do to support you, we're always here. But really appreciate you being on the show today. How can people find out more about you? How can they learn more about you, or any of the things that you're doing?
Yeah. So first off, Chris, thank you for having me on the show again. I love what you're doing, what you're building, and how you give back via this vehicle. And I love going on this journey of life with great people like yourself. Angela, thank you for tweeting out and keeping everything organized. We appreciate you too. If you guys want to keep in touch with me, I got my business partners kind of dogged me out the other day, because they're doing something with Instagram, and they looked at my Instagram followers and they're like, DJ, you have 900 followers. What's going on? I just joined Instagram not too long ago. So follow me on Instagram if you'd like. It's just DJ Eidson, Eidson. But really, most of what I do is on LinkedIn. That's the social media platform that I've been engaged on for years. So that's just DJ Eidson as well. You can actually, it's funny, my daughter was just telling me, she goes, Dad, my friend said they're Googling you, and all these different images of people are coming up, and so you could Google me too, and and find me that way. So, but those are ways to follow me, and I would love to connect. Send me a direct message, and we'll get you some information.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much again for being on the show, and I look forward to having you come back again. Maybe it won't be a year this time, but we'll love to have you come back and get updated on all the cool stuff you're doing. I know you've got a lot of stuff coming up, so we'll be excited to be watching from the sidelines.
And I owe you either lunch or coffee, man, when I'm out in Orange County in August. So I'd love to connect.
Yeah, you let me know. I'll be there.
All right, brother. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Hopefully you've learned something you can use in your own career in a positive way. Until next time, do what you love and show the world how talented you can be today.
You've been listening to Talent Talk Radio, brought to you by People G2.
Imagine buying a newspaper and discovering that the news you're reading is 6 months old. There isn't much that stays the same for 6 months, and the same thing goes for background checks. In a time when so much outdated information is being passed around, it's good to know that People G2 offers something different. At People G2, we provide today's intelligence, not yesterday's news. Our value-added approach offers you a fully FCRA-compliant solution that includes up-to-the-minute information. By combining industry-leading technology with old-school human investigation, People G2 is able to give you information that is accurate right now, delivered quickly through our online system, or integrated with your HR system. So ask yourself, are you comfortable working with old news, or are you ready for a different kind of background check company? Visit peopleg2.com or call 800-630-2880. That's 800-630-2880. Or